Yo, what is up guys, FaZe here and welcome back to another video. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day. And today I'm going to be going over the Krangvagn, which is a tier 10 Swedish tech tree heavy tank. And it was one of the vehicles that was extremely strong at one point. Then Wargaming kind of nerfed it and made it extremely weak. And then in update 10.3 they've given it a mobility buff, which I'm going to go over exactly what Wargaming changed in just a moment. But today, I'm basically going to give you guys a full review on the Kranvagn, giving you my opinions and thoughts on what I think about the vehicle now in its current state, and if Wargaming should have buffed it a little bit more compared to other vehicles that were extremely buffed in this update. With that being said, let's head straight into it. So having a look at the changes that were made for the Kranvagn, Wargaming kind of changed their thoughts on it. So this is the Kranvagn stats right now and what they changed. So basically the engine power will be increased by 70 horsepower instead of 50, because originally Wargaming wanted to just give it 50 kilometers or 50 horsepower, but Wargaming did end up changing that and actually giving it a bit more. So that is all the Kranvagn actually got, which is kind of lackluster if you think about it. It only got an extra a bit of mobility buff, and that is it. I wish something happened to the gun. Maybe they buffed maybe the aiming time or something about the gun, although the gun is very accurate and it's actually pretty decent as it is. But I do think Wargaming could have done a little bit better with the Kranvagn. With what was changed on the vehicle done and dusted, let's head over into the equipment and see what I am currently running. Now, the Kranvagn is a vehicle with a lot of pen, so if you run calibrated shells, you're literally going to pen everybody. But personally, I do like to run improved ventilation. With calibrated shells, most of the times running calibrated shells on these autoloaders are usually the best thing you can do. So it's basically up to you. However, I will say that this ventilation does just improve a lot of the little stats that will just make the vehicle feel a bit better. Second of all, I'm running enhanced gun laying drive. Third and last on the first row is refined gun. Second row, I'm running defense system, enhanced armor, and toolbox. However, I will say that if you do choose to run improved assembly, it could be a better bet. However, I find that running the enhanced armor makes that turret even more impenetrable in some situations, especially when you're face hugging. The last and final row, I'm running improved optics, engine accelerator, and high-end consumables. Pretty straightforward. Provisions wise, you can actually run double sandbag, and then obviously you can also run that improved assembly, which will give you about 2,800 HP, which is just crazy for the type of vehicle it is. However, I like to run a little bit of a mix of things. So I basically have on provisions the food, I then have the best sandbag that you can get, and then improved fuel. This just makes the vehicle feel like it has enough HP, it has decent enough mobility, and then obviously most of the crew stats are going to be a lot better when running food. Consumables wise, a lot of people run reticle calibration, but I don't really think this vehicle needs reticle calibration. So personally, I run double repair kit just to make sure that I'm more reliable on the battlefield, and then an improved engine power boost to make sure that I'm taking full advantage of that mobility. This actually greatly improves your ability to actually get into the position of the battle, since the Kranvagn isn't the fastest thing in the game. Okay guys, before we head into a live battle on this vehicle, I do want to quickly mention the armor, because I think it's something that I should still mention on this vehicle, and how you could possibly penetrate it and where you should definitely not aim. Now, the Kranvagn, obviously this is update 10.3, it's been updated finally. However, the Kranvagn's armor was not really changed in 10.3, so this armor is what you would have seen in the previous update as well. This is the Kranvagn being shot at by another Kranvagn. As you can see, this is it using its standard rounds and not using calibrated shells. If you run calibrated shells, you have a better chance of penning through the vehicle over here. So if you ever want to shoot the upper plates of the Kranvagn, always aim for the direct middle of it, because that's going to be the weakest point. These outer parts here are basically like the IS-7 and can be bounced extremely easily. As you can see, the turret on the vehicle is extremely strong as well, even on flat ground. Yeah, you're not really going to bust straight through this turret. It's upwards of 356 millimeters effective. Even when using calibrated shells with its standard rounds, no one is going to pen this turret with their standard rounds. However, as soon as you switch up to the Kran's heat, as you can see, this middle section here is very easy to pen, and you can pen that no problem, especially when you get closer and you get into like a little bit of a face hug position where you're a bit above the Kranvagn. That is where the armor on the Kranvagn's turret becomes extremely weak, as you can see. One thing I will say is that this tank does have some really easy weak spots at the top here, these cupolas. Mind you, they are very small, but to very skilled players that have pretty decent aim, they're really going to just hit these hatches no problem, and you're going to be very furious because you think you're hull down, but you're getting penned on those hatches. So every time you go hull down and you're not really shooting anyone, always aim your gun upwards, because that will make the gun and that weak spot extremely easy. As you can see with the Kranvagn using calibrated shells, even with its heat rounds, will never be able to go through the Krangvagn's turret when it's fully held down. So always aim up and you'll be just fine. With that being said, let's actually head into a battle with the Kranvagn. Personally, I do really like the Kranvagn in its current state. With the current mobility buffs, it means that you can actually put the Kranvagn in positions that it was never really able to get to without getting nuked. And as you're going to see here, I load up my speed boost just so that I can take the sneaky position that most of you probably know, but it's directly in front of me here where you can go hull down and counter the enemy team. And this really allows me to, with that new speed boost or speed improvement, it allows me to get to this position a lot more reliably and a lot quicker. As you can see, I'm making it basically the same speed as a VK72, but because I'm here first, it means that I can put 2 shots into that VK72, load up to heat to put my full dumping clip onto him. That chieftain in Purple Clan does end up putting 2 shells into me, unfortunately, but it doesn't really matter because I'm here now, and in this position I'm basically impenetrable to that chieftain. And if I go hull down here, which I'm going to be able to do in just a second while I load up my shells, I can really just go hull down here and take advantage of that chieftain, and he won't really be able to do anything to me. Now, as you can see, even without using reticle calibration, I'm extremely accurate. I'm able to just pinpoint a shell directly through those 2 rocks there, and this is why I don't really think this tank needs reticle calibration. Mind you, that shot could have been a bit of a lucky shot there, but the gun is actually fairly accurate on this vehicle, and this clip potential is also very, very deadly. So as you can see here, I put 1 shot into that chieftain, and I do want to get rid of that chieftain. I see our medium flank is getting absolutely ruined, so obviously I want to get rid of this chieftain so our team can deal with these flank a lot easier. I do miss that shell, unfortunately, which would have been a lifesaver if I managed to hit it. And then I turn around and notice that there's an FV in front of me, which is something you do not want to see on your rear. So I put an HE round into him. He's luckily not running spore liner, so I can put a nice roll into him. I do use my last shell on him, which it was kind of a mistake. I should have maybe waited, but in this situation I think I just wanted to get rid of this FV as soon as possible before he can actually just drop on me and completely dump me out. Now at this point, we've dealt with the FV405. My chieftain is not really doing anything, but I do notice that my IS-7 and my other vehicle up top there is not really doing the deed. I need them to push, otherwise we're going to lose. And if they don't push, we're literally going to lose. There's a VK90 up there, as well as a IS-7. So I'm not sure why they're being so passive. The same fact is that they have so much HP. Just because that VK90 and IS-7 are not doing anything. So I tell them, busy telling the IS-7, come on, you need to push on that chieftain, otherwise we're going to lose. However, at this point, my team has actually dealt with the left flank and on the medium flank, and at this point we are definitely going to win this battle, but I am a one-shot, so I'm still taking it a bit passive. I do think that the i7 and VK90 could have pushed up a bit more aggressive here from the beginning, because they were just allowing themselves to get farmed out by the medium flank. At this point, I mean, the enemy team had a platoon of very good players, 2 double purple players, which are very good stat-wise, and we actually managed to completely ruin them. And this is mainly because the Kranvagn was able to get into that position using that new mobility buff, where I would have probably gotten absolutely nuked previously with the previous Kranvagn. So the new Kranvagn, even with its current stats being basically the same, that mobility buff is a massive increase to the vehicle and means you can go upwards of 40 kilometers with this tank. Mind you, the turret on this tank is extremely strong as well. So yeah, this tank overall fantastic. I do really like the Kranvagn in this current state. The main drawback of the Kranvagn previously was because of how slow it was. It was just awful to get around the map. But that increase in, 30 horsepower is fantastic. As you see here, here's our battle results. We got 4,500 damage, and as you can see, against the enemy team having 2 purple players, we completely ruined them. I mean, we beat them, no problem, and this just shows you how effective the Kranvagn can be at getting into a position and then going hull down and being able to be impenetrable. No one can actually pen you. And then using that fantastic accuracy to dump out your shells, and obviously you can reload them extremely quick as well. So I really like the Krangvagn. While the DPM on the Krang is not the greatest out there, it is still a very deadly tank, and that turret makes it just very, very strong at most situations, and it's no wonder why it's still a comp vehicle, even though it was extremely slow in the last meta. And currently, I still think this tank is going to be in the meta just because of how quick it can now get to its top speed, and for that reason, the Krangvagn is extremely strong. Mind you, I will say that you cannot side scrape in this vehicle, so you never really want to be on a flat ground with this tank, because most of the time people are going to shoot heat right through the front of the vehicle in its turrets if you're just completely flat on them. And obviously your hull is extremely weak. It's basically the SDRVK's hull, so don't expect many things from it. Anyways, guys, let me know what you guys think of the Kranvagn. Personally, I love this vehicle. It's fantastic in today's date, and it's actually a lot more fun because of how much more mobile it is. This vehicle was highly requested for you guys, so hopefully this video is adequate enough for those who asked for it. Anyways, guys, that is it for me today. Hope your shells hit their marks, and I'll check you in the next one. Cheers.